Welcome to episode 343. I'm Kevin Oakley, and with me today is the ad doctor Andrew Peak and Jackie Lipinski.
Hello.
Happy to be here. I was excited.
I feel like it's been forever since I've been on here, but I think it's only been 2 weeks. I was in Cancun
Nice.
at an amazing resort called the Garza Blanca, which it didn't make the
I'll
editing
Google all
room for,
these.
but my daughter has been watching this influencer for like 5 years. This young couple who's married, and they just started posting all these pictures. And she's like, it seems really familiar to me. And they were at that same resort. She's
That's
like, I
cool.
was on the same workout mat that
We were
whatever her name was using in the workout room. And like, they were in the same hot tub, blah, blah. She just thought that was so cool.
That's pretty funny.
In Cancun for a week, and then PCBC last week in California,
All over.
which will be my story time, but I'll let someone else get started. Eeny, meeny, Jackie, we'll let you start.
Yeah,
In case the internet goes out, which sometimes it does, that's okay. We'll be here.
if I go missing, yes. So what I just
go
had to tell
missing.
Kevin and Andrew is I have two internets. I have a
Oh, this
backup
is-
internet.
okay.
Like
Double
And
internet.
It's
Twice
the
as
double
same
speed.
internet, two different connections to it. Like you
No,
don't have a
I have two-
secret
I have,
second
like-
internets.
yes, I do. I have a second. I have like AT&T, and then I have another.
Oh yeah, sorry,
The
I was
company.
teasing you. Like
Yeah.
you don't have two complete World Wide Webs. You only
Yes,
have
correct.
one, but you have two
There's only
different
one
connections.
wide web.
One's the dark
Web.
Dark. You're going in through
That's what honestly I was like,
Tor browser.
Yeah,
there's
my
two
dark web is not
different
working.
internets.
Yeah. Anyway,
The government knows.
if I go missing
about that.
anyone, I am working on it. My apologies. But
Starlink is next.
my Starlink is next. Well, it actually, funny enough, rolls into my story time. I've been analyzing a lot of home builder websites. A lot of people are making improvements right now. And I stumbled across a feature on a builder's website that I went, I have not seen that before. And I'm going to have to get some more insights
Okay.
because it was have you guys ever driven over a mountain or had to go into a live cam and been like, okay, well, what does it look like today?
Sure. If you go to the Ritz-Carlton in Dana Point, they have a live broadcast of the ocean when you're checking in. So you can see the conditions of the beach and the surf.
So that's what this builder had. It was almost like this camera was on a light pole
Mhm.
aerial shot at the
Okay.
community. And it was, since you can watch the historical like clips throughout, since it's been under construction for a year. But it was almost like a live stream of the job site. So you can see the under construction homes. And I thought that was a very unique thing that I hadn't seen on a builder's website. And I want to dive in deeper and see how that's performing for them. But in terms of like people coming to your website and asking, where is it at? What's going on? What point of construction it is
Mhm.
almost solving that mystery. And also, takes away the veil of not being completely honest with the person. It's like, yeah, here it is. You can go to the website every day.
Good
And
luck
for
right
people
now.
who are addicted to content and want to see that, you can watch the community be built from
Yeah.
afar. So I
Oh
love
man,
that.
I've tried this so many different ways.
That's pretty
And
cool.
the technology is so much better now to be able to do this with self-contained like batteries that last long enough or have a high enough bandwidth connection. But I don't even want to take the whole time, but I started doing this with back in 2009. I think there was a product that came out that was meant to watch birds. It's
Yeah.
like you mount it on a wooden post,
Okay.
and if a bird moves, you can snap. But you could also do time lapses with it. Somewhere in the archives of my Facebook video history, you will find a hilariously bad, like 4 frames a second, blurry video of me doing a time lapse with it in my basement. So that didn't work. But yeah, builders have done that. Most of the time, they don't do it on an ongoing basis.
Correct.
I think for like a community amenity, especially, that might be really compelling to just never turn off. If you had a really good shot of like the downtown area with the pool and could get enough height on it. But a lot of times people are doing it just as like once a year or once every 2 years, they'll do an updated time-lapse construction video.
Mhm.
But I agree. It's something that's not as hard to do as it used to be. It used to be you had to find a pole. I even know people who do this with drones. It's not live, obviously, but just every week they're putting the drone up in the same position, getting an extra little bit of footage, and then combining it to show the current status. I agree.
That's dedication. You think about it, like keeping it charged, walking outside, doing it. That's like 30-minute commitment to get like
Yeah.
30
Mhm.
seconds of video. Is that builder, Jackie, the one that they're up north, and it shows like land, like it's nothing, and you
Yeah.
see like the bulldozers going through, and like, look, there's the retention pond, like it's pretty cool. See, it
That is
snows, then
cool.
the snow melts.
hmm
I thought it was your old builder actually, but it must not have been. Someone who's on the
Ooh.
team now. We'll find out who. They were doing this, and what they found was that trades, because they didn't have enough height on it, trades were intentionally parking their cars in front of the camera because they didn't want someone watching how they were or were not working on the job site. And so I remember that story sticks out really clearly from about.
Well, I know I
4
had
years.
feedback
That's
when
funny.
I tried to set up time lapses. The project managers were like, no, because I already have rocky relationships, and if I tell them this, but I've done things in the past where if we're having, I've done time lapse of the model homes being set up. I was like, this is
Mhm.
something people like before and afters. So it's an easy thing that was already going to do. Just slap a camera in there. Create
I think
content.
this is $1 million idea. It's not $1 billion idea, but if someone just went to every episode of House Hunters, you'd probably get sued too. But just turned every episode of House Hunters into a 1-minute-and-30-second clip and then posted one every day.
Like that one.
That
That
account
one.
would
It
get
chose that
flagged,
one.
like immediately.
Sounds like a TikTok account. I forgot there's a name for it. There's a name for those accounts that just like scrape content and just push them out like that. There you go. Who wants to do that? Anybody?
All right, Andrew, what do you
Anybody?
got?
Ooh, so we're doing a little staycation here at the end of July, and we're going to the first Crystal Lagoon. That was in Florida. Epperson is a community. Lots of big builders there. I'm sure people have heard of it. Michael Phelps was at the grand opening years and years ago. And so I'm excited to see it. One, to see it from like a product's perspective. Like, hey, this is a giant amenity. Then it'll be cool to experience it. Like, hey, the kids will have a lot of fun. It's close to the beach. But one, I wanted to look at it further. And if you go to the website, crystal-lagoons.com, that is like the business site. Like it's for, say, a developer or a builder to take a look at. And you go through like, oh, how do these things work? And then they have, if you click on like public access lagoons at the top, I think it's really neat. They show like the timeline as far as like, hey, you have this much acreage. You build this. This is phase one. Like if you scroll down, they have a cool little, there we go. Phase one, public access lagoon. So this would be like, if you don't have a community and you just want to build this lagoon, I think they have their phrase is bringing beach life to the city, lowering the world's carbon footprint. So I assume their intention is, hey, build this. You don't have to drive from Columbus to Hilton Head, although it's a whole different experience, right? You have this right here. Phase one, it's pretty simple. Looks like a giant park with this beach thing. Phase two, like, oh, now we have more entertainment. We have a wedding. We have events. We have this amphitheater in the corner. Then phase three, there's restaurants, and it just keeps filling up with, it's like you're playing Sim City or something like that, or Skyline, whatever game. And it's all centered around this lagoon. So I've never seen the product itself. What's interesting, it's an hour from me. I'm 10 minutes from the beach, but they're about an hour and a half from the beach as far as where the community's at. So I don't know. I'm excited to see these. I know there's quite a few. I think they have like over 800 built throughout the world. And then within the United States, I think there's a few hundred, mostly towards the south and warmer regions because it needs the sun and warm temperatures to warm it up. There's no like lesson here or anything other than I'm excited to see it.
It kind of seems like a no-brainer, really.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you can afford it, why would you not do that? Especially now with as hot as it was 92 degrees for almost 2 full weeks here in Ohio. Like, might as well just make it a beach.
Make it a beach. And then you buy tickets. So like we're public, we're going to the private community, Epperson, and then we pay tickets to go. So we're going to spend about $250 to go for the day. So it's like 40-ish bucks per person. And then there's the revenue. So I don't know how that's split. If it's community, it goes to developer. If it goes to part of the HOA, they get funding from that as a percentage to help pay for it and maintain it. But it seems like it.
That is so much better than just this
model.
like lapse pool that I see everywhere where it's like, okay, sink or swim. I think that is the building of a community up feature that is.
I do want to know the
this
investment.
Is a compelling
like,
visual here. They're showing actual beach, Miami, or like Cancun is another great example. Like if you're not familiar, and my family, even though we went there 5 years ago, somehow forgot. Like the ocean there is kind of terrible. It's super hot. It's so hot you don't even really want to go in it. It's super salty. It's like you get it under the water at all. It it can burn your eyes really quick. Seaweed everywhere. And so anyway, they're showing Miami
Yeah.
Beach versus Epperson. And of course they can control the elements so much better in a man-made lagoon. So it looks crystal clear. It's the right color.
It's like
Everything's
Caribbean water.
controlled. Now, what
Bahamas.
you can't control, which you have to report back on, is all the
Find out.
like crazy people who are there.
Yeah. Or
Mhm.
what if it's a public swimming thing?
Yeah.
There's kids. Like, what if they're like, well, that just happened. This little diaper exploded. You don't shut the
Mhm.
pool down. It's 5 or 6 acres. I don't know what you do.
Yeah.
We will find out. Mhm.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I hope you don't have to find out, Andrew.
Oh, I hope not. I hope not. But hopefully, I am curious. So, like, how many people out there are visiting other communities, like intentionally? So we're kind of stuck here. I'm, working full time from the office. I don't travel much to my communities that I build in because I don't build in any communities. But as far as seeing competitor communities and making an effort to go and see, a more compelling product offering that is farther away. Like
Mhm.
this is like, it's 3 hours round trip, hour and a half that way, hour and a half this way. So it's kind of the whole day if you wanted to take a look at it. But yeah, I think it's worth getting out there and getting excited, inspired, and going like, oh man, like I didn't even know what was missing
I would
because I've been
say
stuck only seeing
the-
mine.
The key there to me is it does tend to happen quite a bit for owners or CEOs, division presidents will go and visit other communities to get a sense for the product. But it's way more rare for sales managers, marketing managers, et cetera, to have the same opportunity. And I do think, great segue. Reminder, the Do You Convert Summit is in October. We have over 300 tickets already sold. You want to make sure you secure your spot there. We're announcing new speakers constantly. We've kind of got the agenda more or less locked down. It's going to be awesome. But if you're going to Chicago, then yes, you should proactively try to find a community or two that you would like to go see. Even if it's product that you don't build, like you're not an infill builder and you want to go see an infill built townhome or condo project, it's really important to do some of that stuff. And in a lot of ways, because I was in the field, so to speak, for over a decade, and then working with builders all over the country and flying to see them. I think I've been in homes in over 40 states. So I now can kind of translate that experience through a digital, like I can look at 15 pictures of a place and go, oh, okay, I pretty much get it most of the time. But most people don't get that opportunity. So I think it's a great point.
Get out there.
Yeah.
Home tour,
Should be
Chicago.
done.
Make your own on Friday.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. My story time is just a quick update on PCBC from last week and some Econ talk in particular. So the major narrative of the conference, if I had to give it one, was just that narrative is important, which it is, but just every speaker kind of hit it in a different way. And even the economist who spoke, his name was Christopher Thornston, I think was his name. Dr. Doom is one of his nicknames that he's been given. But his main talk was like, hey, the economic reality of you can't just spend an infinite amount of money and never pay it back and think it's all going to work out has to, over time, collide with the cultural narrative of, but we have to help everyone and give everyone everything and do all the things. And so he's like, it can take a long time, but eventually those realities will collide. But you have to understand when you're confused, why aren't things happening in the economy the way you think they should, based upon a black and white understanding of economics? It's because of the cultural narrative and its importance, and it takes time. And so he used the example of, I think because of COVID, $6 trillion were spent by the government, added to the economy to keep things moving, but that ended up equating to like $35 trillion in additional asset values of homes, stocks, et cetera. So we have an inverted yield curve, which is supposed to signal recession. We're going on almost 2 years, I think, of it being inverted. He's like, what's the deal? Well, the deal is when you have $36 trillion, it can take a long time for that to have to meet the reality of what's going on. And so the most interesting thing that he shared was his perspective that if people are waiting for rates to come down, they're likely to be disappointed. His perspective is that the rate curve is supposed to be, a 30-year mortgage rate is supposed to be much higher. because you're lending someone money for 30 years. There's more risk there. So you want to be paid more for it if you're the person lending the money. Right now, the curve is inverted, which means it's more expensive to borrow money for a month than it is for 10 years. It's not supposed to be that way. So his point is, even if the Federal Reserve does lower interest rates in the short term, long term should probably stay where it is. And he said, just buckle up and get ready for 6 to 7% mortgage rates for the next 2 years, because the curve has to be fixed so that banks and everyone are operating properly. So I think that's really important for sales teams and marketing teams to understand, to be able to overcome the objection of, well, we're just going to wait and see. When rates go down, then we'll buy. When rates go down, prices will go up. Also, counterintuitively, when homes are the least affordable, it's typically been the best time to buy it if you can. Doesn't make you feel comfortable when you're pulling the trigger, but long term, you're really happy that you are, because you can refinance at that fixed cost later on. So
Nice.
I think that was
Sounds like it's always the best time to buy.
Yeah. And then I can also just let the full cat out of the bag, so to speak. I don't know if that's a thing people say anymore, but I posted on LinkedIn about someone who had removed all of the floor plans from their website, and some people lost their minds and kind of got like, what's wrong with that person? Why would they do that? Gina Nixon from Thomas James Homes was on a panel. So we were able to curate kind of a marketing track for PCBC this year. And Gina is the one who did this. And she did it because Thomas James Homes is I live on a house on a piece of property, and I'm going to let you tear it down and rebuild a house where my current home once stood. And so she said, just the dynamics of making sure the home fits the home site. It was not helpful for the customer. It was not helpful for the sales team to have people fall in love with a design that was never, ever had a chance of being built on their land. And so it became this issue of, there are inventory homes, which you can see the floor plans related to those, but she's like, we just wait. We are okay with that friction of someone saying, I love this concept, I want what you can do. And then my sales team really getting to know them and understanding their needs and the restrictions of the site location. And then saying, here's 3 designs that'll work great for you. And so it's always more to the story. But in this case, right now, again, the current narrative is less friction is better, always. And there's just countless opportunities where no, just the right amount of friction is better. And
I like that. So I think the takeaway here, if I'm correct, Kevin, is also, know who you are as a builder and know who your customers are. And that is not a blanket, try this for everyone. It's understanding. I had a builder who asked, hey, we have a lot of people to our website. It's closing out, but also what can we do? And they had 10 floor plans showing and they had 2 homes available. I'm like, why are you showing all the floor plans? You can't build 8 of these. Like, it makes no sense. So you can still show the floor plans and the available homes, but if you cannot build it or it might not work, you don't want to show what could have been. So taking away those things, and you're right, creating a streamlined process is better for the user experience too.
I thought that name was familiar. Jackie, you found their ads months ago. Thomas James
targeted.
Homes.
Yeah. I think they're
And we were like, man, we just love the look at this. This vibe is so like they're more premium, more luxury. Their ads just, I don't know. I'm trying to think how to describe them. I don't know. I think it looks great. Their website, I love everything about their site as far as their site is so full as far it's completed, and there's so much content there, and the messaging, the narratives is, you're not missing the floor plans. I guess, like, I'm not like, where's the freaking floor plans?
They built the story with their other content enough to create enough interest for you to reach out, I would 100%.
Say. And they have past projects on there, which I think is, I always will be like, past projects, show your communities. They're building, like, here's this home in Scottsdale, $3 million. It looks like it's modern, but then you go to past projects, you could find their other modern homes. You're like, and the photography is perfect. You could look at it. There's a story. You really can understand it. Their icons, how they categorize everything. It's done really well. If I was a on-your-lot builder, infill builder, like, this is definitely something to get a lot of inspiration from.
Is that particular session, Don Dancer was also on the panel, and the title of it was Going Beyond the Catalog, talking about the Sears catalog of too often. Yes. And actually, Dawn, when we were talking about it, she's like, but I love the Sears catalog. I miss it. Well, you do as a kid, But I promise
Yeah.
you, if it came back right now, you'd be like
What is
trying to
this?
click on the printed out images for more information. You'd be like, oh, I can't learn anything else.
Like a child who tries
You
to
order
expand
it.
on the
Yeah.
photos.
This has been discontinued. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
But it was interesting that both of the people on the panel talking about going beyond the catalog and being creative with content. I said, this wasn't intentional, but how many people in the audience here are community builders or build any communities? Almost everyone raises their hand. I'm like, these two don't even have that content to use.
Mhm.
Maybe that's part of what causes the increase in creativity and approach. But like, they would look at your ability to create content talking about your actual neighborhoods as, oh my gosh, that would be so cool if I could also add that into the mix. And they can't.
Twice as much.
So I thought that was really, really interesting. But yeah, let's end with it. It's not PCBC related. It's more summit related. We flush out the agenda, but I reserve kind of 15 minutes of my talk somewhere within day one to not really be cemented until like a month before, just because I want it to be the most current thoughts, what people are dealing with, et cetera. But here's where I am right now is, I read the hospitality book, Unreasonable Hospitality.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I would just say life hack. There's a lot of books where you can just go listen to the author talk on 2 or 3 different podcasts and never have to read the book. That to me felt like one of them. He's way more compelling to listen to than it was a good book. Did you know, Andrew, that The Bear, he's now like an executive producer on The Bear?
I didn't
Because
know that. But
they took the fork part from him from season 2, famous Forks episode.
That's famous. Talked about it last summit.
And they reached out to him beforehand and they said, hey, just a heads up, like this is what's going on. And he was like, that's just, again, they're internalizing, because a lot of the people on set are from hospitality, in terms of guiding the direction of how it's filmed and showcased. He goes, like, they didn't have to tell me or give me a heads up. They could just use it. But now they reached out. I was like, cool, that sounds great. You're going to reach out people I could never reach through a book. And then they gave me this executive producer credit on season 3, and I'm going to be more involved in season 4. Anyway,
That's super cool.
take that
They're
book,
being-
and really at the end of the day, it's talking about seeing people, as uniquely and individually as possible, and serving them, creating great experiences. Right. I mean, that's a really short, easy summary. Then we've got social content, which is all of the platforms don't want you to leave. They want you to stay on the platforms.
Mhm.
What's the type of content you want to see on all of those platforms? People having incredible experiences, a la the Mr. Beastification of the world of, I'm going to blow up this yacht just because I can and smile while I do it, because where else are you going to see someone blow up a yacht? So it's not like something I want to replicate as an experience, but it's still an incredible experience. And it just seems like these layers are all kind of going together to say, yes, you should be as efficient as possible with your paid media. And no surprise, we do that better than anyone. So I'm talking up our own book there. But that's like, get that taken care of as quickly as possible so that you can go create these unique experiences, document them, not create them. So we're layering in some Gary V isms there, right? Of,
Yeah.
if you spent the time creating those individual experiences, like Don talked about, someone couldn't get in their house for someone's birthday. And so they set up a tent and like had a party and did all this stuff for someone for their birthday, to celebrate their birthday, because they were sad that they wouldn't be in their new house for the birthday.
Gotcha.
But set that stuff up, document it, spend more time creating amazing, incredible experiences than document it and then share it. Just seems to me like there's an easy flywheel here that when you layer these ideas together, could be so much better.
Agreed.
Yeah. I mean, that's even like The Bear, right? They clean their forks, and then they have the gentleman cousin who does the surprises, the amazing experiences. And he does try to highlight specific people with specific memories to create specific, unique opportunities. And people will remember that for, the rest of their lives.
Yeah, he calls him the Dreamweaver in the book in that scenario, right? Okay, so here's the last piece of this, and we'll get to the news, and we'll go through the news pretty quickly to try to save time. But I had this conversation with one of our builders just 2 hours ago. We've all been remarketed to forever now. You didn't buy these shoes. Here they are again. That was where it all started. And it was the same picture of the shoes that you saw when you were on the platform and added them to your cart, but didn't buy them. But it was just, see it here. It's again. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. How do you do that? Now what happens on social? So TMI maybe, but who cares? I think I might have fatty liver syndrome. Why? I don't know. Well, doctors have told me that maybe I do. It decreases your energy level. Anyway, so there's this product starts getting advertised to me called the Dose, I think it is. And it's a shot of turmeric, ginger, all this stuff that's supposed to over how many days solve your fatty liver syndrome issue. Okay. So I'm like, that's dumb. I don't need another thing in my life to have to subscribe to anything interesting, but no. So remarketing is not new, but I think what I'm becoming more and more impressed with is over the course of the next 3 to 4 days, I saw no less than 15, maybe even 20 different versions of creative talking about it. And that is completely different and gets through the self-protection mechanism that humans have in a different way, because it wasn't the same ad over and over again. It wasn't 2 versions of the same ad. It was 6 to 8 different faces talking about it differently, talking about different aspects of it. And the amount of energy that went into that content is unprecedented in terms of years past. So I think originally it was just frequency. Now it's frequency and variety, and variety in every dimension of variety you could think of. So that at the end, and I'm going to close with this, then you guys share what your thoughts, that it doesn't come across as this company is desperate to sell me. It comes across as, oh my gosh, it must be successful as a product. It must be good because there is all this content around it. Contrast that with we're watching the NHL finals. Go Florida. I'm glad they won. I wanted it to be close. So I was glad the Oilers came back and made it interesting. But Florida won. They went to the finals last year, didn't make it. So I was rooting for them. But there's advertisements on sports, and my kids are like, a Pepsi ad comes on. And it's the same Pepsi ad that has been on over the last 4 commercial breaks. And Hayden, my 11-year-old, looks at me and goes, Dad, why do they even bother? Like, who likes Pepsi? And Mason is the contrarian of the family. He turns 10 in August. He goes, I love Pepsi. Pepsi's the best. It's great. And the comeback then that Hayden came out with was, yeah, if it's so great, why do they have to run the same dumb ad so many times? Because they're so desperate to sell it.
It's a great conversation.
It's like, yes, that is different. In the 80s, 90s, when we were kids, like you saw the same ad over and over again and you were like, oh, wow. Like you didn't have that skepticism of they must be doing it because they can't sell it enough and they've got to get the message out. It was like, this must be the cool thing because it's the same ad over and over again. Whereas now, I think because of social media and YouTube and everything else, we're conditioned totally differently of like, if I see the same ad 9 times in video format, especially, like, what is wrong with these people?
Yeah. That's happening to me too. The same thing. And it's almost like, so it's, I'm trying to find the Kevin Oakley and Jackie Lipinski of SEO as far as like learning more about it. Like, I feel like it's a weak spot for everybody. Like, I don't know many great SEOs but just like the foundational things and making sure like I fully understand it. Even more so like on the local level, because I feel like builders, et cetera, whole long story of why I'm doing it. But long story short, I found one person, I'm like, oh, cool, this guy seems trustworthy, all this researching. Now I'm getting the variations on variations on variations of this guy trying to sell courses and all this stuff. And it's like every time I have to say no. So it's almost like I have to reconsider, like, do I buy this? Do I not buy this? Do I read more about what this person has to say? But it's not like I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I already said no. Like, I feel like every time we've been to Mexico, Cozumel,
I see what you're saying. You're like, saying the no. First, I was
like, it's a different no.
It's annoying, but it's not the same no over and over again.
Because now it's like shifted a little bit. So it's like, hey, I know you didn't really want this, but like we actually got this. Like, and most people like it. I'm like, no, I don't think so. Or well, maybe I do. I'll take a screenshot. Like, I'll look at it later if I go through my photos. Like, oh yeah, let me get that. At least that's my feeling. Like, I have to say no again.
I think my outlook is to, I'm wondering, well, have people thought this far through, but how you talk to and market people is the people you want to attract. So spammers purposely misspell things because they want the people who aren't going to notice that
Oh yeah,
word
it's
the
like
was spelled with
engagement bait.
CE. Yeah. So by him doing that, he's trying to create the smallest viable audience, and you might not actually be it because he wants to create more profit for him versus teach. And I know that when I'll friend people on LinkedIn, all of a sudden it says, oh, so and so wants you to join their newsletter now. I'm like, oh, okay. And they want you to subscribe now. I'm like, I don't even like you. Like, not like I don't even know you. You're like, I was like, well, I want to see what your profile is like before I commit.
Mm-hmm.
So there are certain things. And it was funny, Kevin, you brought that up because I was just talking to a builder about these notes I had in my phone from when I was on maternity leave, and I read a book from Seth Godin, chapter 15 of This Is Marketing. Frequency is associated with trust when it comes to marketing, but that, you're right, might be outdated. Frequency and variety might be there because I feel like people don't want to feel like they're being sold sometimes.
Yes.
It's like the Reese's Pieces.
That's where
ET.
influencers get credit for having audiences and being. We've had lots of conversation about influencers.
Yeah.
But I think it's underappreciated how the ability to simply pay an amount of money and have 30 different people make content from their own unique voice, but given guidelines. And I mean, that's how it all works, right? It's like, please highlight these features. Don't talk about this stuff. Shoot your own stuff. The variety aspect of doing that, I think in today's world may be as important or more important than just the single right person doing it for the average brand, average product, average marketer.
Yeah. Even low quality videos, which like user generated content, UGC.
Well, this isn't in the news. I think I slacked it to the team, but did you see TikTok is offering fake people in their videos and you give it a script and it talks? It was so creepy. So creepy. Like almost you can create, oh, I don't know, an influencer. I'm going to create a fake person of the, so the future is creepy.
I mean, if some of them are fake anyway, so it's, what's the difference? That's terrible.
Well, but to close the loop on that, it doesn't have to be great video quality. I think it does have to have good enough sound quality. Video quality can be a wider scale, but if you pay really close attention to what these folks are doing, is they're starting with that low quality, and about 10 seconds in, they're cutting back to, and that's how you know ultimately it's orchestrated, but it almost doesn't matter because you're like, there's another person saying this, it's another person saying this. They're cutting back to their own B-roll of, the product hero image or whatever. So it's still being edited to have this combination of stuff, but the first 5-10 seconds are whatever they need to be to be this, like you're saying, this is a different opportunity for you to say yes. And you might've said no to the other 8. So, the end of the story is I didn't buy auto ship and I'm not on a subscription, but I did just buy a 60-day supply. And I'm like, what the heck,
There you go.
It's no harm.
What the heck? Why not do it?
Maybe.
All right. On to the news. First up, and this is our July 4th edition. We love America. Hope you do too. Hope you're having a fantastic holiday time as you listen to this.
Hot dogs, burgers.
But Google ends Universal Analytics July 1st. What you need to know from doyouconvert.com and our own Andrew Peak. So if you're listening to this, it's too late.
Wow.
It's gone. You're done.
It's gone.
Is everyone screwed? What did we miss out on?
I sure hope not. I feel like the ones that feel like they are screwed, they're probably just fine. So the biggest thing would be, do you want to export your data and keep it? This might be like, this will relate to an article later. I'm not emotionally attached to many things. And I'm like, if you haven't looked at that data in the past year, why get all weird and take all this time to export things? If you haven't looked at it the past 6 months, like keep going, like how far away the last time you used that data, should you export it? So I think
the asterisk there is like,
don't need to.
If you can, and you have the time, you may want to, if for only so that one day when we have the hive mind AI that we all dream of, it will have that historical data to know. But I think the challenge for the average person today would be like websites from 2016 are incomparable to websites today, or hopefully yours is incomparable to what yours was.
Right.
How we advertised, the amount of information we gave away. So
Can we
it's
do
not that there's
it?
nothing there, but you're as likely to confuse yourself or go in the wrong direction, making assumptions without thinking that even as I'm talking about the AI system being able to look at it, it's like someone's going to have to remind the
Yeah.
AI what the web was like in 2016.
Right. You're like, why were our conversion rates so high in 2020 and 2021? Like, what do we do? What can we do to get back to that? Well, we're not having 3% rates anymore. So
Your
you
houses
can't fix
aren't
that.
X cheaper.
Houses are, 100, 200, 300 up, whatever price up. So that's the big one. The other one, which shouldn't be, I went through about 30 Google ad accounts to try to find a screenshot. And that's how long it took to find one screenshot. There is still this loophole where you could still have conversions from Universal Analytics to Google Ads. But I found one, and that was just to get the screenshot to show it. There's no data flowing. I didn't find anybody that we work with that has Universal Analytics data flowing into Google Ads. Like I just was not seeing it. So that's the
Because
other
you
one.
should have remade everything in GA4.
Yeah, two years ago.
Like how,
so
how
really,
long
like,
is this? Has it been 2 years now that GA4 has been required?
It's been 1 year for requirement, so it's 2023. A year before that was the big notice, like, hey, GA4 is coming. That was 2022, but it came out in 2020 as another product, mostly for ecom. And then if you were trying to get data from your mobile app and like your website as one, that was the other reason. So we've been forced
I
to
think
stay
that's
on
where
it about a year.
I do think historical data is helpful, but in particular, last year's data is the one that becomes like having 12 months of historical data is on average the most helpful.
To be 2022 to 2023 would be the last.
And I'm talking about analytics in terms of leads, appointments, sales, all that stuff.
You should have all that.
As far back as you can go. Great.
And I know we had an internal goal, was it like March 1st of 23, where we said every builder partner has to have GA4 established so that everyone will always have year-over-year data.
Oh yeah, I think we were,
we're earlier than that, but that was just
3
like
years ago, we started just telling everyone, hey, we're going to turn this on. You can just ignore it for now, but it's going to collect the data so we have it.
Those were fun days. Then we had like 2 builders that started using it. Then they're like, we're just going to start using it. We're like, oh no, like you're like one of many. Like, like, okay, we'll use it too then, I guess. Yeah.
So if you want to dive in more, check out the article. Yeah, it'll be there for you to know.
And if you're listening to this, I feel like if you notice something, you would have noticed it by now. So check for the things that Andrew's saying to highlight, but mostly no action items are needed.
If nothing else, use this as your reminder that yes, you do have to learn how to get around and use it. I mean, the number of people still are like,
so true.
Still not used to it. It's been a year.
Yeah.
It's been a while. Do you log in?
You got to get in there. Next up from searchenginejournal.com, Google Ads now being mixed in with organic search results. Getting sneaky. This isn't the first time I don't think that they've tried this. But, typically, as the image that I'm showing here, paid results go on top of organic results. And now we have in this other screenshot here, number 1 is an organic search result. Number 2 is a sponsored ad, and number 2, the number 2 organic result appears to be in position number 3.
Yeah. So we'll have an article right after this we'll talk about. I think they're related, ending continuous scrolling with having this. I think it could be, you could say it both ways. Google is testing a lower position ad within the search results because that's like, oh, we're putting organic results above the ads now. Oh, cool. Thank you, Google. That's pretty nice of you. Or you go, they're trying to confuse us and like want us to look at ads as if they are the organic listings. Kind of 2 different perspectives on it, but it'll be interesting to see how the search impression metrics that we do follow, as far as like, hey, can you spend more money? Can you not spend more money? Are you spending too much? Are your bids too high? If you're always in the number 1 position, you're paying a really hefty premium to always beat all of the other competitors to have that number 1 spot up there. So that could be a chance to like, hey, you could probably back down a little bit and still get the same amount of clicks and have quite a bit more efficiency to push that budget to more content, whatever else you need. Like, we don't want to be super efficient all the time, but there's a point where like, hey, if we could shift over some budget to support other projects, then let's do that if we can.
I have to imagine, obviously, Google is filled with brilliant people, and
I don't think so.
And I would say, I almost wonder if it's like a psychology experiment too, where they've trained so many people to just ignore the spot 1 that they want to retrain you trust spot 2 more. And they would rather, they think you might get more clicks in that spot is what we're kind of saying. So experimenting with that
experimentation is 100% what's going on here. The thing that I'm thinking is most likely with Gemini's rollout and the use of AI, I think they have a higher confidence that they can determine, because still the vast majority of results are going to be as they always have. It's really just seems to be something that they are testing. And I think they're trying to test, will the, I'm going to use AI in air quotes, machine learning, be good enough now to correctly predict when we should use that format or not. Like an example I think that would make a ton of sense is branded search, like a brand name search.
Right.
Sure, let the competitor run an ad, Google, but don't make the customer have a worse experience by having the top result not be the brand they're clearly looking for, and let the competitor advertise on number 2. To me, that would make sense. But I think that's one of the things they're testing is, can we do a better job of predicting when we should keep people on their toes, so to speak, and mix up the results for now.
We'll see.
Next up, from search engine land, Google is dropping continuous scroll search results. Continuous scroll launched in Google mobile search in October of 21 and on desktop in December of 22. And Google spokesperson told Search Engine Land that today, June 25th, Google is removing the ability to continuously scroll on desktop search results, followed by mobile in the coming months. So the next button will return. I forgot that it was gone, but it's coming back.
I wonder if it's one of these things like when they analyze a washing machine, the most efficient washing machine is just the one with the buttons. Like sometimes simple is best. We're just like, instead of trying to get like the continuous scroll, maybe they can't give enough data to the marketer. They can't give enough people information. So like, well, we know you're on page 2, section B or whatever. That's where you are. Now we can improve versus the continuous is, it's hard to say X% because how many 10,000s of scroll is available. So it is interesting that they're tying this in with the previous article, right? Of like restructuring the locations of ads. But I did already notice this on my browser today. And I was like, but it didn't feel different because I don't feel like I scroll far. I go in the top 5 and that's it. So
that continuous scroll was like, I felt I had the feeling of being lost. Let's talk about our feelings here a little bit. Yeah. You're scrolling and it's like, I can't figure out where I am. Like you have breadcrumbs on a website for navigation. You could go, oh, Tampa, Florida, United States, North America. You could like go backwards where you are. We're buying shoes, running shoes, men's, whatever it may be. This, like having the pages, and maybe it's because we were used to it for so many years, like, okay, cool, I'm at the bottom of page 1. And what I also love, and maybe they had less activity for this, is the people also search for. So I typed in Kyla Scanlon. Kevin was talking about her as far as being at PCBC. And at the bottom, I'm like, oh, people also search for net worth, husband, Wikipedia, married. That's weird. Tattoos, all these other things where I'm like, oh, what's her education? Like things like when you're just curious, and you want more information. Like I think that could explore more pages. So interesting if they actually had less people do those kind of exploratory, unplanned searches for things like this. And maybe we could encourage that. It would not
surprise me if you, dear listener, thought to yourself, Kevin has a lot of theories about things. And it's not because I think I'm right, but I don't know how you live in a world without, when you're encountering something, you have to have a hypothesis that you can test, or else you're just like meandering around with nothing. Like you can have an ongoing test related to everything only if you have a hypothesis that you can even be testing.
Right.
My thing here is that I bet that the competitiveness around rankings for like hardcore professional SEO people changed dramatically, where you can no longer tell your customer you're on page 1.
Yeah.
Now you're result number 9. Well, I don't scroll down to number 9, so who cares? I think there's this dynamic of, again, there's this skepticism around Google that everything, if you're not paying or a big brand, it doesn't matter. And I think they're trying to get back to this place where the consumer considers everything that's on page 1 as certainly not the same. You're better off being on number 1 or 2. But now there becomes a certain cachet to being number 9, where before you may not have been considered as really being credible because you were so far down, in quotes.
If you're watching the video, I've raised my hand because I am also going to be a theorist and say with that SEO leak I wonder too if they want to change enough things where they can discredit the information that was provided. So they can reestablish
I like
themselves
that
as
theory.
expert as SEOs when they change the game rules again.
Yeah, that could be.
Good
Makes
idea.
sense. Next up from Open Door, emotional attachment could be prolonging Gen X and baby boomers moving timelines. I grabbed this one, and anytime someone has research or a report with an interesting take, I'm like, we got to talk about this. And so good job to Open Door. They're calling this Open Door's 2024 Emotions in Real Estate Report. And I thought, fresh off of PCBC, where everything was about narrative, I'm like, yeah, let's see how people are feeling. All the feels, all the vibes, they matter. So what's up with everyone? Anything that stuck out to you, Jackie?
Well, one, can I just say that there is a cartoonist I follow, and the cartoonist put in how marketers feel better. And it was, oh, well, we made up a new stat called Vibe Check, and we're doing great. And so
Vibe check. Vibe check.
So this article, not that it doesn't, they have numbers, but it's always funny when that does relate. But I mean, again, I think it was Zillow years ago who did the new builder report talking about the stress of buying a new home was similar to a divorce. Like emotion plays a significant role in buying a house. And so, it is not easy to calculate or articulate, but I think by understanding it, you can make different decisions. And especially if the older buyers, if they are like, well, my family memories are here. Maybe I can't get something better. The interest rates are high. It could be detrimental to their decision to moving.
Yeah. I have two things on this. One, I love the design of this page, by the way. Like,
it's nice.
It's great. Even the picture selection, they rounded the corners of the image, and then they have like a slight blur of some sort on there. Like, it feels like you're watching like a half broken TV or something. Like, it's like, this even feels like baby boomer, the picture on there. So I think if you have parents or grandparents and you're trying to have the talk of like, hey, it might be time to move, not saying to a facility or ALF, any of that stuff, but it's like, hey, you're in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a pool, 2,500 feet. I'm describing my grandmother, by the way, who's 2 miles up the road. Like, that's a lot to maintain. And this, let's find you something smaller. Here's this. And so me, like, for whatever reason, she'll listen to me a little bit more. Like, I'm trying to sell the vision of like, here's what your life could be. Here's what it could be. But she's so attached to the things in her home.
Yeah.
Her home, she's been there for 25 years. Like, it's like she can't see past the emotion of this is where she is. There's ego attached to it too, as far as like, well, this is like this home in this neighborhood. So that's also emotion. I think the takeaway for me is that selling, if you're marketing to this type of buyer, you really need to like convince them that what you have is better for them, and it's going to fulfill these emotions that they have that they feel like they're going to lose on, which is why I think the Villages is so successful, because they're like, life is like a cruise. There's so many things to do. Like, they could easily see like how much better that is going to be compared to their home on the street with all these kids running around skateboarding and all these kids that are up late at night playing basketball and keeping them awake and disturbing their peace. Like, or you just go to the Villages and there's no one around after 9 o'clock at night. It's great.
I'm also going to put a little data point in there. I had a really good marketer who they have a 55 plus buyer, and then they have other communities. They started seeing the difference of how many touch points those buyers need. Because you're right, they have a longer runway. You need more marketing, you need more content, you need more convincing. And so if you do offer that product type, making sure you really, really know the customer. And one of that is also like, how often do they need to be talked to and convinced is important to the marketing strategy, and how to pivot and create content and elements for that in that journey.
Yeah. What I like about the insight they have is, one, for 55 plus folks, 66% say they are emotionally attached to their homes. And they kind of talk about this made up emotional return on investment from a home is necessary. Like, have I experienced everything in this place that I conceivably want to? And then I'm willing to think about the monetary return on investment secondary. But if I still have plans of, I haven't seen my grandkids, everyone's attached or not attached to their home in different ways. So for some people, It's easier. And what's interesting thinking this through is as people begin staying in their home longer on average, I think we're now up to 12 years, which is mind blowing that people are staying put. And with mortgage rate lock-in effect, does that get extended beyond that? Will people become more emotionally attached to these places as they stay there longer? And what does that mean in terms of the hurdles we have to overcome as marketers to get them interested in the idea of selling those memories, so to speak? I also just thought it was interesting that they said, let's see, respondents told us the most experience anticipation, 42%, excitement, 37%, and stress, 34%, when home buying and selling. Anticipation could be considered good or bad.
Yeah.
But you could also just say like impatience, which isn't necessarily on the side of home builders who don't articulate the benefit of waiting. So good job, Opendoor. I just thought that was really
I think it's done really well. Like
interesting take.
they're, I'm sure other big sites out there are like, yeah, this is legit. Like this is a great article.
Yeah, they very creative group over there at Opendoor. All right, let's talk about favorites or things we hate. I'll go first because I got two. I'll do the less fun one. So I saw Kyla in person. Loves getting to see her. She just wrote a new book, Kyla Scanlon. Check her out on YouTube or TikTok if you're so inclined. I had her sign the books for all four of my kids, which is great. And
smiley face.
Even my kids are like, "Oh, is that who you watch on YouTube, Dad?" Yes, it is. Fantastic individual. Highly recommend going to see her talk or meeting her if you get a chance. But the book is called "In This Economy: How Money and Markets Really Work." It's I'm not going to say it's easy to read because there is a lot of words per page. But she does have a lot of drawings and sketches, and she uses kind of Gen Z storytelling mechanics in the book. So like she talks about like my 11-year-old started reading it, and I said, "What did you learn in chapter 1?" He goes, "Well, economies are kind of like you've got these kingdoms over here, and cannonballs are shooting between the kingdoms, and some people are trying to take money." And I was like, "I'm not sure you got it, but the fact that you're even like in it is really impressive." So I highly recommend you check that out. And then my just pure fun one for Father's Day, my kids got me a meat thermometer. So this thing is Bluetooth in the thermometer. It has 4 different temperature readings, which is really important if you're cooking brisket or something, because if you stick the probe right in like a thing of fat, as it renders down, it'll give off false temperatures. So it takes it at 4 different places along it.
Nice.
And then the base will connect to your Wi-Fi. So in your home, so it speaks to each other through Bluetooth, and then we'll connect to Wi-Fi so you can monitor everything. And the outside of the probe is an external temperature gauge, so you can keep an eye on if the temperature that's built into your grill or your smoker is accurate or not. So it has everything you can need and more. It's not inexpensive. We just have one. I think you can get a 4-pack of the older one for about the same price, but that's I can't wait for the 4th of July because that's brisket time for the
What a fun name. Meter. Like get it? Meter.
Very funny.
Very funny. That's good.
I can go next. I'll spin off of that. For Father's Day, I got my husband a hibachi grill top.
Oh yeah.
It is so fun. I will say, like, this is a secret about me. I love hibachi grills. I love Japanese steakhouses. I don't care how cheesy they are. Like I like birthday, take me there. It's so dumb and amazing.
This year you're going.
Please, like it's my secret love of a weird restaurant. And so now I feel like I'm doing it, and I get really excited when I'm like cooking and I pretend to be the guys. So
I want to see you do a train, a volcano.
Yeah, I will record that next time. But it's one of those things of making your house a little more desirable, because we used our grill, but now we're using our grill every single day, and it comes on and off of the grill, and you could replace the top. But it is pretty pleasant, and it's making us like love our backyard even more.
You know what else you can do on that grill?
Tell me.
Pancakes.
Oh, okay.
A pound of butter.
I don't know
what's first.
Yeah.
I've done
Sounds
fried
good.
rice. I've done steak. I've done quesadillas. We only just got it, so I'm gonna expand. But
Yeah, that's fun.
It's pretty good start. Pretty good
Good
start.
start.
Andrew?
Let's see. Mine will be sitting and doing nothing. But have y'all seen Inside Out 2 or Inside Out the first movie?
I've seen the first one. The rest of my family
Okay.
saw the second one. I think I was traveling last week when they saw it.
Did they cry?
They said it was great.
Oh yeah. So the first one's good. It's more simple, more kid, like younger child oriented. And then the second one, I'm like, I don't know who this is for. This is like therapy time. Like you're watching it. Goes through the first one, it explains in like this cartoon story form, different emotions, joy, sad, like really simple, like one-dimensional emotions. And the second one, you have anxiety. Ooh. At first you're like, wait, do I have anxiety? Like what's going on here? That looks like me. And then you have envy. You're like, oh, okay. Embarrassment, which are more complicated, kind of multifaceted emotions. But watching it, so it was good, like family movie. And I'm like, I hope my kids are like digesting some of this as far as like the actions and behaviors. But as far as us as adults, us in marketing, you're like,
Yeah.
ooh, this person is acting, not for us to be Dr. Phil with each other, but like if you're thinking about customer experience, like this person isn't crazy. They're not being delusional. They're not being absurd. They are truly anxious about this, or they're an anxious person. Like we can't just be like, oh, that's not real. You need to calm down. Like you can't tell someone that. If they're coming from a place of like, oh, they truly are anxious about what is happening with their home, you have to I think understanding that in the movie format, like if you don't get it, maybe you don't have anyone in your life that has anxiety, all those things, but watching it to me, I'm like, oh, this is like good lessons in marketing and dealing with people. And what can we do on the marketing side to support that, or just the builder experience? And then the second one is The Bear. We talked about it earlier. New episodes dropped last week, which is kind of today when we recorded it. And so I think it was season 3. So yeah, I'm excited for that. I haven't seen any of them yet.
All the episodes are available at once. I understand. So.
Oh goodness.
All right, Andrew. We'll connect
one a
next
day.
week
That's
to
what
see
I'm
how
doing.
it's going.
They're intense, so I don't. One's good for me.
Yeah,
I get
back
too
to
anxious.
Inside Out 2. That's what I've heard from a lot of parents is like, this is a really good movie to watch with a preteen or a early teenage
100%.
child, because it's like unavoidable to have the discussion afterwards of
Yeah.
like what happened and what's going on. Also,
100%.
just for those of you who have seen it and you want to make fun of me the way my family does, I don't know which emotion it is. I think it's fear. At some point, they're all falling inside of the person's, wherever they are. All the emotions are falling. And one of them has a parachute in his backpack. And so he's fine. And everyone else is like, what? You have a parachute? And he's like, what? You don't have a parachute? And they're all like, that is dad. They all come in like,
That's
dad would have a parachute. He would be prepared. I'm not a Boy Scout, but I think that's their motto. Always be prepared.
That's funny. Always be prepared. Fear.
Nice. Well, I think that takes really complicated
it.
things and puts it simple. And I also think when builders think of content, they try to go so safe. And we're all a bag of emotions. And so it's okay.
And my thought on that is, do we ever talk about safe things like with content? Like it's forgettable, right? So don't be safe.
I mean, that's the feedback we get from this podcast all the time. It's thanks for being real. Because we can say we're number one, everything's great, everything's amazing. Here's some vanity metrics to make you feel good. We're not here to make you feel good. Data's not here to make you feel good. Like we're here to make you no, we're here to make you know what to look for and how to analyze and be better. And so
Honesty.
When you understand yourself and those feelings and what's happening in your data, you're going to be better.
But also let's tease people. So the other thing that I'm really
Tease 'em
excited to talk about at the summit is one particular organization that is legit, just, I would say, immoral in their approach from their product and how they interact with builders. So we're not going to talk about it here or anywhere else, but you have to come to the summit and you'll hear me go off.
They're immoral.
Like
Just to make
it's
sure.
borderline. It's borderline theft, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm excited. Now you're going to get a bunch of messages and we're going to know.
It's time for us to go. It's been great episode. See you all. Have a fantastic holiday.
What a tease.
With your friends and family. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
See y'all.